Citing sources is about more than introducing a series of quotes or creating a list of ideas. The goal of using multiple sources is to combine related information in order to learn or say something new. People synthesize information like this all the time. Reviews are a good example. Let's say my friend recommends a novel. Before I buy the book, I'll consider professionally written reviews, reader reviews, and my own experience, that I like horror novels, but I don't have lots of time to pick up a book right now. After processing all those factors, I'll create new information, in this case, the decision to check out an audiobook copy of the novel from the library, so I can listen to it during my commute. Synthesizing research works in a similar way. The main difference is, when I'm writing a college-level paper, I need to direct my audience to the sources of information that have influenced my new arguments and conclusions. I do this with in-text citations. Let's look at some strategies for putting sources in conversation. Say I found 4 sources that explore different aspects of the same topic. Representation of Black women in horror fiction. I've got the scholarly article titled The Importance of Neglected Intersections, Race and Gender in Contemporary Zombie Texts and Theories by Kenitra D. Brooks, published in 2014 in the journal African American Review. The scholarly book Horror Noir, written by Robin R. Means Coleman, which was published in 2011 by Taylor and Francis Group, a BuzzFeed video featuring horror author and educator Tananarive Due that was recorded in February of 2020, and a post written for the Nerdist blog in June of 2020 titled 28 Days Later's Selena is the Ultimate Horror Heroine by journalist Ty Gooden. I'm using these sources to write a research paper analyzing how Black female characters express fear and bravery in horror films. My first strategy for putting these sources in conversation is to review them in chronological order, starting with the oldest source first and ending with the most recently published. Sometimes information changes the way we understand a subject, and it's easiest for me to notice those changes when I read my sources in the order in which they were created. For example, I can assume that the book Horror Noir doesn't offer an analysis of films produced after 2010 because it was published in 2011. However, in her BuzzFeed video, Tananarive Due describes the impact of Black creators involved in horror films after 2010. Thinking in these terms will also help me when I'm trying to organize my ideas for my audience. Another strategy I have for putting sources in conversation is to look for points of agreement and disagreement. For example, both the scholarly article and the Nerdist post focus on the same character from the film 28 Days Later. Both authors, Dr. Kenitra Brooks and Ty Gooden, agree that this character is a unique protagonist for similar reasons. If I share this analysis in my writing, I will cite both authors for this idea, and it will tell my audience that this interpretation of the character is well supported. My third strategy for putting sources in conversation is to look for call and response in the research. To do this, I summarize the big ideas and questions that connect my different sources. Then I take notes on the different ways each author responds to these central themes. For example, in the book Horror Noir, Dr. Coleman analyzes 120 years of historical evidence and then uses this information to define racial stereotypes in American cinema. The scholarly article, the blog post, and the video discuss examples from film where Black characters defy the stereotypes identified in Dr. Coleman's book. In my writing, I can cite those authors and add my own analysis of their collective ideas, or I can contribute more examples of how Black characters defy stereotypes. Maybe the easiest strategy for putting sources in conversation is to have an actual conversation about the sources I'm reading. Sometimes I'll share what I've learned with a friend or classmate, and it helps solidify my understanding of the subject. When I'm struggling to synthesize the ideas I'm trying to combine in my writing, I'll reach out to a librarian or instructor who can help me connect my ideas with the broader conversation about whatever it is I'm researching.